hope you all are doing good and keeping safe, right? So today we are going to discuss the second part of the second chapter of class 11th ISC chemistry, that is what? Atomic structure, right? In the first part you have seen, we have discussed Bohr's postulates, right? And I have told you that in the year 1913, Bohr has given his postulate, okay? But let us know what exact experiment that Bohr has done based on what he has given those postulates, what I have already discussed in the first part of this chapter, okay? So what Bohr has done, Bohr has taken a container, okay, and Bohr has like a closed container, alright. So there are some gas molecules in that container and Bohr has heat. Bohr has given what? Heated that container. After heating that container, what Bohr has observed? Bohr has observed that only few colors are visible. Okay, few colors are visible. Like what is this few colors are visible? Like what happened when these gas molecules got heated? They absorb energy, right? And when the heat is removed, okay, they did what? They have emitted those energies, right? And energies are observed in forms of electromagnetic waves or radiation, okay? But what happened? Like if it would have been a continuous series of light, then we have got everything, say from Vibgyor. You all know Vibgyor, violet, indigo, blue in this way, okay? But in this case, few were missing. Suppose here I is missing, suppose Y is missing, okay? Suppose R is missing. So specific some colors may be observed, alright? So this is what he named as discrete spectrum or line spectrum. Today we are discussing the topic atomic spectrum. So this type of spectrum, okay, if we would have got all the spectrum, the name would have been continuous spectrum. But as few colors are missing, this type of spectrum is known as what? Discrete or line spectrum. Got it? So, like based on this experiment, what Bohr has said, like what Bohr has understood, this diagram I have shown you previously also. Like this is what I have drawn. These are the energy levels of hydrogen. So what we can see here, in the first cell we have minus 13.6 electron volt energy. In the second cell minus 3.4, in third cell minus 1.51 and then 4.85, minus 0.85, okay. So what happened when they got heated? Gas molecules, gas atoms got heated and inside the atom we have got electrons. So when electrons got heated, electrons absorb some energy. So I have discussed, suppose the electron is there in the first cell and if it absorbs energy, then the energy will be increased. And I have told you also, like on going outwards, the energy increases. If you can see minus 13.6, minus 3.4, values are decreasing, but the minus sign is there, so the energy is what? Increasing. So on heating, electrons will gain energy and they will jump to the higher energy level. So when the heat energy is removed, they will do what? They will come back, they will return back. And while returning back, they will emit the amount of energy what they have absorbed, right? And this energy is visible in form of electromagnetic wave or radiation. I hope you understood till here. Now, let me just write few points from this experiment. What are the things Bohr has concluded, okay, on this atomic spectrum? The first thing what Bohr has understood, electrons want to stay in the lowest energy level. It is not only electrons but everyone, all the substance, all the bodies, they want to stay in the what? Lowest energy level. If I ask you that keep on standing for hours, will you like it? No. But if I tell you that you keep on lying down for several hours, you would be happily doing it. Why? Because when you are lying down, your energy is the least, right? So electrons, they want to stay in what? Like lowest energy level. Okay. Then in number 2, if electron absorbs or gains specific amount of energy, it jumps to the higher energy level. I hope you are understanding what I am saying by this. Higher energy level means what? From first cell to second cell, third cell, like in that way. Okay. Electrons, so they have gone to the higher energy level. Electrons return back to the lowest energy level and emits the energy in form of radiation or electromagnetic waves also you can write. Till here you had no confusion. Okay, you understood each and everything very properly. But you remember I said that line spectrum or discrete spectrum is observed, okay, not the continuous spectrum. So let me tell you the reason behind that. Why discrete spectrum or line spectrum? Like as you can see, or in the previous video also I have said that electrons, they gain or lose energy, right? But they absorb or they emit, I am writing, they emit specific amount of energy. This one I have discussed in the first part also. Specific amount of energy. That means what? If electron wants to go from first cell to second cell, it has to gain the electron minus 3.4 minus of minus 13.6. Right? What is the difference between the two energy levels? That much of energy only electron gain. Okay. And when like it will come back to the like its lowest energy level, that much of energy will be emitted. Okay. So they emit what? Specific amount of energy. Right? Not any amount of energy. Right? So that is why like and for specific energy what? The wavelength is also very specific. So they emit specific amount of energy. Okay. And in the form of waves or electromagnetic waves of specific wavelength. Okay, here we will discuss one formula, E equal to hc by lambda. Lambda is the wavelength and E is energy, h is Planck's constant, c is the velocity of light. Okay. And another point what we can write is, already I have discussed this thing, that the amount of energy emitted is equal to the difference between two energy levels. So if suppose the electron can absorb or emit delta E amount of energy, and the electron is going from like x energy level to y energy level. Okay, so the energy will be what? Ey minus Ex, right? You can write it E2 minus E1 also if you say the electron is going from number 1 shell to number 2 shell. Okay, so the amount of energy emitted is what? Equal to the difference between two energy levels. If it is going from first to second, I have shown you. Okay, this minus this. If it is going from first to third, then this minus this. Wherever it is going from the final to initial. Okay, if electron jumps from x to y. Understood till here? Okay. Now based on this, okay, we have to understand a few mathematical deduction and numericals. So like here I have written delta E equals to Ey minus Ex. That means what? The energy of the Y energy level and X energy level, right? Now I hope you have learned that the formula of energy E equals to what? Minus 13.6 Z square by N square in terms of electron volt, right? So like if I want to replace it by delta E, that means the energy level of Y minus the energy level of X. Okay, so what I can write? Minus 13.6 Z square by N suffix Y square minus of 13.6 Z square by N X square electron volt, right? So from here what I can write is minus 13.6, I am taking common out. Okay, so if I take minus 13.6 or I can take plus 13.6 also, because this is minus and this is plus. So I am taking plus 13.6 Z square 1 by Nx square minus 1 by Ny square electron volt, right? So now what I have told you, like this is the equation 1. Alright. In the quantum model of electron, like you will be learning that this energy, emitted energy, you can write it in the form of hc by lambda, because we know like in the emission spectrum where energy is being emitted and spectrum is being formed, that light has some specific wavelength, and by this expression you can calculate what? The wavelength. Lambda is what? The wavelength. Okay. So let me formulate the thing from here. So what we can write is applying this, what we can write, delta E I will replace by this. So hc by lambda equals to 13.6 Z square 1 by Nx square by Ny square. I can write this, right? Or what I can write this, 1 by lambda equals to 13.6 by hc Z square 1 by Nx square minus 1 by Ny square. Alright, till here I hope you have understood. It is nothing difficult. hc I have brought down, right? So till here I believe you all have understood. I am writing this formula again and I will just simplify it more. So what we can write is 1 by lambda equals to 13.6 by hc. Now 13.6 is a constant number, h is Planck's constant and c is the speed of light. So this term total we replace by a term called rz square 1 by nx square minus 1 by ny square. Now what is this r? R is Rydberg's constant. Rydberg's constant, okay, and the value of R is 109677 centimeter inverse. See, 1 by lambda is the unit of length, right? So R unit will be also like centimeter inverse. Okay, so but you need not to remember this value. You in the question paper only you will be getting it. Rather, if you want to remember something, remember the value of 1 by R. This is roughly 911 angstrom. Okay, if you want to remember this 1 by R value, you remember. Alright, and you will come to know why I have asked you to remember 1 by R value, because that will be more applicable. You have to calculate lambda, so R will go down, right? I am showing you how to calculate. Say I am writing for hydrogen atom, calculate the wavelength if electron returns to n equal to 1 from n equal to 2. Alright, so that is what I have said. What here, from x it is going to y, right? So I am putting the formula directly. 1 by lambda equal to rz square 1 by 1 square minus 1 by 2 square, right? And z is for hydrogen is what? 1 square. So basically it is 1. So from here what I can write is 1 by lambda equals to r 1 minus 1 by 4, or else 1 by lambda equals to 3r by 4, or what we can write is lambda equals to 4 by 3r. So here you simply put the value, this one, see 4 by 3 1 by r, so 4 by 3 911 angstrom, and you directly get the value. Okay, lambda equals to, you get this value directly. Okay, you practice the calculation little bit and you can easily calculate the value of wavelength. Now say, if I say from n equals to 3 to n equals to 1, I am just changing for hydrogen atom from n equals to 3 to n equals to 1. Okay, so what will be changed? Only this 2 will become 3, so this will become 9, this will become 8 r by 9, okay, and lambda will be 9 by 8 r, 9 by 8 r. So here also you just 9 by 8 multiply 900 angstrom. So you understood for the second line, okay, what is happening? N equal to 3 to n equal to 1. So this till here it is very clear, but when the question comes, you all mostly get confused. Why? Because of the term they use. Okay, like they use for the first line of Passion series, for the second line of Bomber series and all, and you all think that we all do not know this term. So let me tell you, the first line is known as Lyman series. Okay, the spelling is Lyman. This is Lyman. The second one is what? Bomber. Lyman, Bomber. Then the third one is Passion. Okay. The fourth one is bracket. The fifth one is Fund, but we write with P. Please learn the spellings, okay, from the book or from the internet. Okay, you can ask me personally also, I will help you. Okay, Lyman, Bomber, Passion, bracket, BRACKET, PASCHEN, BAMER, LYMAN. Lyman, Bomber, Passion, bracket, Fund, and one more you have to know, that is Humphrey. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 6 names you need to remember. Lyman, Bomber, Passion, bracket, Fund, Humphrey. Okay. So if it is said, say I am giving you example for the hydrogen atom only. Say for hydrogen atom, calculate the wavelength or the transition for hydrogen for the second line of Passion series. Alright, in question the terms will be used like this, for the second line of Passion series. Now Passion is at which number? Lyman, Bomber, Passion, right? So if the Passion is asked, your first n is fixed. See, Lyman, Bomber, Passion, so number 3. So 1 by lambda r 1 square as hydrogen, 1 by Lyman, Bomber, Passion. So 1 by 3 square is fixed because Passion's number is 3. 1, 2, 3. Now it is said what? Second line of Passion series. So first line of Passion series is this one. Second line is for Fund, right? So Lyman, Bomber, Passion, and second line. So for the Passion you know the number is 3. So second line of Passion will be 3 plus 2. Understood? So now if you calculate, you will get the value for this. Let me just quickly calculate. 1 by lambda equal to r, 1 by 9 minus 1 by 25. So that gives lambda equals to 25 multiply 19 is 225. So 225 by 16 R. You can take like 1-2 more steps to find out, and if I do some mistake, please don't forget to let me know. 16 R by 225 by 16 R. So by applying my value, you can easily write 225 by 16 multiply 9, 11, 11 angstrom, and see how quickly you can get the result. If you just remember the value 911, 1 by R equals to 911 angstrom. These all shortcuts will be very useful for your competitive exams. Okay, so you understood, like the second line of Paschen series means what? Paschen series n is 3 and the second series means what? 3 plus 2. So in a generalized formula, what I can give you is, like, suppose for the nth line of X series. X means what? Suppose the n value is X. Okay, from n equals to X series if I write. So 1 by lambda equals to R Z square is as it is. Nth line of X series. Okay, so X series means what? Paschen series say 3. So I am writing 1 by X square minus nth line. So this will be added, X plus n whole square. So understood? This is the formula you can remember. Alright. So I hope till here you have understood. Similarly, like I will let you know what are the n values of all these series. Okay. So I am just rubbing this part off and writing series and n value. The first n, this one. Okay. Series and n value. For Lyman, n equals to 1. Okay. For Balmer, n equals to 2. For Paschen, n equals to 3. For Brackett, n equals to 4. For Fund, n equals to 5. And for Humphrey, n equals to 6. Okay. So now if I say for the third line of Balmer series, what I am saying? Third line of Balmer series. So for Balmer, you know the first n is 2. So I am writing that part 1 by 2 square minus third line of Balmer, right? So 2 plus 3. So 1 by 2 plus 3 whole square. This one is what? RZ square. 1 by lambda equals to. So this is the thing for third line of Balmer series. So for Balmer it is 2. But third line, so 2 plus 3. In this way you have to calculate. I hope you have understood till here. Now at times what they give, they ask you to calculate the energy. And if you need to calculate the energy, you have to write from the beginning formula delta equals to what? E2 minus E1. So minus 13.6 Z square by N2 square minus of 13.6 Z square by N1 square. So this gives the formula 13.6 Z square 1 by N1 square minus 1 by N2 square. Okay. So this is how you can find out that what amount of energy is lost or gained by the electron. And you can see, like, as this is the difference between the two energy levels, so electron always can gain some specific amount of energy, or it can lose also some specific amount of energy. Now if wavelength, then I have taught you the formula delta equal to hc by lambda. Okay. Now if you just observe this formula, your h is a constant, Planck's constant, c is also a constant, speed of light. So what I am giving you, I am giving you one formula delta E equals to 12375 by lambda. This shortcut you can remember if you want to perform numericals in very fast way. Okay, you need not to put the value of 6.626 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule second. Then C is what? 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Now energy will be given in electron volt many times. So you convert this joule into again electron volt. That will take more time. Okay. So you can directly remember this formula, but be careful. In this formula, the energy of electron is given in electron volt. Okay, and lambda will come in angstrom unit. So this is the very useful formula what you can remember. Well, I believe you have observed this formula very nicely. Here as H and C is constant, so what we can write is delta E is inversely proportional to lambda. So if delta E is more, lambda is less. If delta E is less, lambda is more. So if the electron absorb more amount of energy, it will produce less wavelength. But if it absorbs less amount of energy, it will produce more of wavelength. Okay. So please don't be confused in this. Now what is this transition? Say if I tell you, if I am just showing you the lines. Say this is Lyman, this is Balmer, this is Paschen, this is Brackett, this is Pfund, this is Humphrey. Okay, this is n equals to 1, that means Lyman, n equals to 2, n equals to 3, n equals to 4, n equals to 5, n equals to 6, etc. Suppose if I ask you that find out the number of transitions from n equal to 1 to n equal to 3. So what way it can transit? Like 1, then 2, then this much 3, right? So 3 ways. So how to calculate this one? Number of transition. Number of transition, from here the question comes that calculate the number of transition if electron moves from n equal to n2, from n equal to n1 to n equal to n2. Okay. Suppose it can be given from the first line to fifth line, from the second line to fourth line, whatever it may be given. But you must remember the formula n2 minus n1, n2 minus n1 plus 1 divided by 2. So suppose if I give you one example, calculate the number of transition when electron jumps from the second cell to the fourth cell. So your n2 is what? 4. Your n1 is what? 2. So let's try 4 minus 2 multiply 4 minus 2 plus 1 by 2. So this 2 gets cancelled. So 2 plus 1 3. So 3 is the answer. So I hope you understood how to apply this formula also. That's all from the topic atomic spectrum under atomic structure. I hope you have understood and enjoyed this part. Thank you. So in this part of atomic structure in class 11th chemistry, we will discuss more of theories given by the different scientists, okay, based on the the constituents of atom and the subatomic particles. You have already seen in the previous part how Niels Bohr has explained atomic spectrum. In this part, we will start with learning about Planck's quantum theory. Planck's quantum theory. There was a scientist in the 1910 like that, Max Planck. What Planck has said that you have seen electromagnetic waves come out, electromagnetic radiations come out, okay. So wherever there is any wave, it can be light wave, it can be sound wave, it can be electromagnetic wave. So wherever there is any wave coming out, waves are coming out in the form of, or waves contain packets of energy, very short packets or tiny packets of energy, and we name these all small packets of energy as photon or quanta Alright, so Planck has said that like energies are like coming out, or the waves are coming out in the form of packets of energy, and he named them as photon or quanta. So as like waves are coming out, Planck has said more that waves come out with some specific amount of energy. Suppose I am writing that specific amount of energy by writing E. So Planck has said E equals to h nu. E is where energy, you understand. H is Planck's constant that I have already said in the previous parts, and nu is what? Frequency of the wavelength of the wave. Okay, so frequency you can measure by using this formula. Now nu equals to c by lambda. Alright, c means what? Velocity, and lambda also I have told you before, wavelength. So if you want to change this formula in terms of wavelength and velocity, what you need to write? E equals to hc by lambda. Okay, so wherever like we discuss any wave, we discuss about their frequency nu, wavelength lambda, and wave number nu bar. Wave number nu bar is nothing but 1 by wavelength or 1 by lambda. Okay, so these all formulas you must be noting down in your copy, because in many numericals we have to use these formulas. So till here I hope you understood what Planck's theory, Planck's quantum theory is all about. Now, like after getting inspired from this Planck's quantum theory, there was another scientist, okay, and that scientist was one of the students of Niels Bohr. The name of the scientist was de Broglie. See, something or the other will happen only. Now I have kept the duster, I was not getting when to talk. Now, like getting inspired by this Planck's quantum theory, one student of Niels Bohr, he has suggested another concept which is related to this quantum theory of Planck. Planck has said that waves contain like particle, or waves are coming out in the form of particles which contain energy, right? So the name of the scientist is de Broglie. While writing the spelling, we spell de Broglie. Okay, so de Broglie has de Broglie, but we pronounce it as de Broglie. So de Broglie has suggested some concept, that is why we call it de Broglie's hypothesis, not any formula, right? Because he has suggested this, he hasn't proved it yet. De Broglie has suggested if waves can contain particles, then particles will also contain waves, or particles will also exhibit wave nature. Please understand, Planck has said the dual nature of light. That means he said light, what is generally in the form of wave, it can behave as wave. It has wave nature also, and it has particle nature also, right? So what de Broglie is trying to suggest, de Broglie is suggesting, as electrons, they are like particle, so do they have some wave nature? So de Broglie has suggested electrons also have dual nature, okay, particle nature also, wave nature also. He has suggested, but he has not proved it. That is why it is hypothesis. Later on, one of his co-scientist and student, Davison, has done one experiment, the famous Davison German experiment. Don't be afraid, okay, these all experiments you don't have in your syllabus, you need not to study at all. So in Davison German experiment, it was proved that electrons have wave nature as well. Alright, and to relate this wave nature and particle nature, de Broglie has come up with one formula, that is lambda equals to h by p. Alright, p is what? Momentum. So what we can write is lambda equals to h by mv. Alright, p is what? Momentum. And mv, what we write for momentum? So based on this, for any moving particle's wavelength can be calculated, because any particle will have some specific mass, and if it is moving, it must have some velocity also. So based on this, any moving particle's wavelength can be calculated. So what de Broglie has suggested, any moving substance or any moving particle, this is very interesting. Any moving particle. So any moving particle means what? While teaching I am also moving, so I am also a moving particle. Bus, train, taxi, boat, rocket, everything is moving. Even electrons are moving. A cricket ball is also moving. So any moving particle will have dual nature. Of course it will have particle nature and it will have wave nature also. So now many of you must be thinking, sir, de Broglie has suggested that any moving particle will have dual nature. That means like the car what we are seeing on the road, that also should be like visible in the form of some waves, right? But let's understand why cannot we see waves for more of the substance around us, okay? Say for a car, bike or any football or cricket ball, okay? So to understand that, what we will do is, we will simply calculate wavelength of a car or say of a bike, okay? So if you want to like calculate the wavelength of a bike, we will take lambda equals to h by mb, right? So h value is 6.626. I am writing that 6.626 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule second. Okay, mass of a bike say 100 kilogram. All right, and velocity of a bike say I am writing 20 meter per second, and this is 100 kg, right? So if you calculate, see already here 10 to the power minus 34, it is being divided by 2 0 and what total 3 0. So I am writing here 10 to the power minus 37, and if you divide this by 2, so it will come 3.313 into 10 to the power minus 37 meter. If you want to write it in the form of angstrom, then what we can write is 3.313 multiply 10 to the power minus 27 angstrom. As you know, 1 angstrom equals to 10 to the power minus 10 meter, right? So now you understand, angstrom itself is a very small unit, right? 10 to the power minus 10 meter. Okay, like if you divide 1 meter by 10 to the power 10, you will get 1 angstrom. But here 3.313 multiply 10 to the power minus 27 angstrom. So after point there will be 27 zeros, then this data angstrom. So this is so small. I hope you understand that this is so small that it cannot be measured. Practically, it cannot be measured. The wavelength of a bike, it is so small that it cannot be measured, and that is why if theoretically we can say that any moving particle has dual nature, particle nature and wave nature both, but for a big body where the mass is more and like where the velocity is like normal, then it will be only exhibiting practical nature. So if the question is asked that does one bike exhibit wave nature, what will be your answer? Your answer will be no, because the wavelength is so small that it cannot be measured. That is why practically a bike cannot show wave nature. So I hope you understood. So now if we calculate the wavelength of an electron, so applying same formula only we will calculate lambda equals to h 6.626 into 10 to the power minus 34 divided by mass of electron 9.11 10 to the power minus 31 and velocity of electron 2.18 multiply 10 to the power 6 I am writing. Okay, this will come nearly approx 3.23 or 3.2 angstrom. Okay, so now see 3.2 angstrom is a much bigger data than this, right? So 3.2 angstrom can be measured, but this 3.313 multiplied 10 to the power minus 27 angstrom cannot be measured. So electrons, they show wave nature, but bike, car, human, okay, a football, they cannot show the wave nature practically because their wavelength is so small it cannot be measured. So now another thing we have to understand from here, like as I have shown you, like the car or bike that cannot show the wave nature. So what de Broglie's hypothesis can be specified as, any microscopic or small, very small, like tiny particles, electrons, microscopic, okay, very small, any microscopic moving particle exhibits both particle nature and wave nature. Particle nature and wave nature. So that is all about de Broglie's hypothesis. So using de Broglie's hypothesis, you have already understood how to calculate the wavelength. Okay, if the mass and velocity is known, or if you do not know the velocity and you know the lambda, okay, the wavelength, then you can calculate the velocity also. But at times what happens, the question is not given so directly. What is given? The lambda you are asked, okay, you have to find out what the wavelength, you have to find out the wavelength, calculate wavelength if the kinetic energy is given. You like, if momentum has been given, you could be like calculating directly. If the kinetic energy is K, okay, but kinetic energy is given, you have to find out the wavelength. So what you have to calculate, you have to basically calculate what momentum, then only you can find out the wavelength. So the value of kinetic energy is what? Half mv square, and momentum is what? mv. So by substituting these, okay, what you can write is, like, I am taking out the value of v from here, I am writing p by m, and this value I am putting here. So what I can write is momentum equals to mk, okay, if so momentum equals to what? Root over 2 mass multiply kinetic energy, right? So now we will put the value of momentum there. So lambda equals to, you know, h by momentum, so h by root over 2m kinetic energy. So in this way you can like write down this formula also. If kinetic energy asked, you directly use this formula, lambda equals to h by root under 2 multiply mass multiply kinetic energy, and you can find out the wavelength. So this type of numericals you must be practicing more to become better in it. So after like discussing about Planck's theory and de Broglie's hypothesis, we have to learn one more principle, that is the uncertainty principle given by Heisenberg. Okay, we name it as Heisenberg's or Heisenberg's, many of the teachers or students say Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. What is this? Heisenberg was also another scientist, okay. Like Heisenberg has suggested for any moving microscopic, moving with a high speed, okay, moving microscopic particle, it is impossible to calculate the position and the momentum with accuracy. What does it mean? Suppose any moving particle is there, okay, or like if I want to give you some example, suppose one car is moving, assume that the car is very microscopic particle, very small, I know it is big, you also know it is big, but to understand this part, let's like take that car is a like microscopic particle. So if car is moving with a speed, then at the same time you cannot calculate the momentum p of the car and the position of the car. Position we are writing with x, okay. So both of these momentum and position of any moving microscopic body cannot be calculated with accuracy at a certain point of time. That is what is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. And to establish that, he gave one mathematical deduction also. If the error in calculating the position is delta x and the error in calculating the momentum is delta p, so delta x multiplied delta p will be greater than equals to h by 4 pi. H is Planck's constant, you know. The error in measuring the position and the error in measuring the momentum, E will be always like greater than equals to what? H by 4 pi. Okay. Now delta p, that is what the error in calculating the momentum. So what we can write is delta x multiply m delta v, because mass is fixed, right? For mass we will not make any error, but for the error can happen while calculating the velocity. So m delta p I have substituted by m delta v greater than equals to h by 4 pi, or what we can write here is delta x delta v greater than equals to h by 4 pi m. Okay, so if you are asked about, or like the velocity is given, the error in velocity, then you will be using this formula. Or if the momentum is directly given, then you can use this formula. All right. So let me give you one example of a numerical. What type of numerical is possible from here? Suppose it was given that find out the error in momentum if the error in position is say 0.1 angstrom. If delta x, that is the error in position is given 0.1 angstrom, we have to find what? Find out the error in calculating momentum. So you will straight away apply this formula. Your delta x is given. So delta x dot delta p greater than equals to h by 4 pi. So from here what we can write is delta p greater than equals to h by 4 pi multiply 0.1 angstrom. Okay, and from here you can easily calculate. Okay, so we don't need to study much. Okay, please don't be afraid by looking at this formula. These all small little numericals will come. What you will be able to do it if you practice. So now I hope you have understood what is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, and now you will practice these numericals more. So after Bohr, as many scientists like de Broglie, Max Planck, Heisenberg, they all were coming up with their ideas, with their theories and their hypotheses. So we found out some defects in Bohr's model also. Defects in Bohr's atomic model we have to study. Defects in Bohr's atomic model. The first defect what came up in Bohr's atomic model, it is applicable, the Bohr's atomic model is applicable for hydrogen or hydrogen-like species. Hydrogen-like species. Now, what do I exactly mean by saying hydrogen-like species? That means which has only one electron. Say like helium. Alright, helium has 2 electrons, right? So, He plus will have 1 electron. So, He plus is one example. Now, say lithium. The atomic number of lithium is 3, you all know. So, if 2 electrons go out from lithium, then it will become like hydrogen-like, say Li2 plus. Similarly, beryllium 3 plus. These are the examples of hydrogen-like species. Okay. Then in number 2 we will write Bohr has only discussed about the particle nature of electron. The particle nature of electron. Bohr could not say that electrons are also of wave nature, electrons are dual nature and all. Like this was said by whom, that electrons show dual nature? This was like suggested by de Broglie. He was Bohr student only. Okay, so this is what another mistake. He could not explain the wave nature of electron. He could not explain the wave nature. Later on, de Broglie has worked on this. Now, if you remember, like applying Bohr's postulate, we have calculated electrons' velocity also, electrons' radius also, and electrons' mass is constant, right? So, if you know the velocity, you can calculate electrons' momentum, and you have calculated radius also. So, what Bohr has done? Bohr has calculated electrons' position and momentum both, but according to Heisenberg's principle, that is not possible. So, here also Bohr did a mistake. Bohr calculated the momentum and position both of an electron, right? If you remember, the formula was given by 0.529 m square by z angstrom, right? And for the velocity it was 2.18 multiplied 10 to the power 6 z by n meter per second. So Bohr has found that electron's position also, where electron is found, and the velocity also, that means momentum also. So which is not possible to find out accurately according to Heisenberg. Now coming to the fourth point, Bohr has nicely explained the discrete spectrum or like line spectrum, but when like more of research was done, ultra fine spectrums were found inside the atomic spectrum or like discrete spectrum. Finer spectrums were found. Bohr could not say anything about that. So Bohr could not explain ultra fine spectrums. Alright, so these four are the like defects in Bohr's atomic model. Please note it down nicely, okay, because from here questions may come. Alright, so that's all for this class. I hope you have understood and enjoyed this part. Thank you.